This is Don Odell's Legends. I'm Bob Kester, and today we're with Les Dudek. Les, welcome to Massachusetts.
Well, thanks for having me, Bob.
Sorry, it's a bit warm outside.
Yes, it is.
But you're a Southern guy. You should be used to this.
I'm up here to get away from it, Bob.
Well, hopefully it cools off a bit after the sun goes down.
Yes.
You got a birthday coming up.
I sure
Just
did.
a couple weeks away. You got anything special planned for your birthday?
Yeah, I'm gonna go buy my assistant dinner.
That's the grand excitement for...
Well, she buys me dinner on her birthday, and I buy her dinner on my birthday.
Oh, so this is an established thing that you've had going on.
This will be our first annual thing. Actually, the second annual.
Now, for those who might not recognize the name, they'll certainly recognize the people you've worked with, the contributions you've made to blues, and some would even say that you were destined for music just by name alone. Give us a little history on that.
I didn't even know that part until later on in life. It's like, wow, how did that happen? You know, I don't, yeah, I guess it's sort of a derivative of a Czechoslovakian name for street musician or something, Dudek.
So, did you traditionally come from a musical family, or were you the one who broke out and actually...
No. As a matter of fact, I did. My father was 30 years in the Navy, and my mom was a Rockette from Brooklyn, New York, so go figure.
Mom was a rockette.
Yeah.
Did you get any ideas and advice from her when you were starting off?
No, I mean, she was not a regular. She was a stand-in mostly, you know, for when one of them would be sick or whatnot, you know, so she would do that, but that's kind of the way that went.
Nice. You played out a lot when you first came on the Macon, Georgia scene. Tell us a little bit about Grant's Lounge and the importance of playing out.
That was like later. It was right after Dwayne passed away.
Mhm.
You know, and Dickie Betts, he was concerned to see if the brothers were going to stay together or not. So he was already looking for players to start another band. That's how I kind of got hooked up with Dickie. Plus the keyboard player that we had, his name was Peter Schless in my band, a band called Power that we had in Florida, which was playing all over the circuit. And he heard that Dickie was possibly going to start looking for players after Dwayne, got in this untimely motorcycle wreck. And so we went up one weekend to hang out with Dickie and jam, and one thing led to another, and I got the call to come back. So I went back to Macon, and then out of that, I mean, yes, to answer your question about Grant's Lounge, that was pretty much the only place to jam in that town at the time, and so a lot of music was there. I mean, when I was there for about 2.5 years. People like Alex Taylor and Marshall Tucker and Wet Willie and White Snake, no, not White Snake, White Witch, I think it was. Came to town, and so everybody jammed there. I mean, at the drop of a hat. I mean, we would. There was a band called Jam Factory, for instance. We heard that there was a hot band in town, and there wouldn't be hardly anybody in there. And then we'd go in there to jam, and we'd pack the place out.
And you also, with Brothers and Sisters, the album from the Allman Brothers, you sang backups.
No, I really didn't, Bob.
No? You didn't?
No, I didn't sing any backups. I played guitar. I played the second guitar part on Ramblin' Man.
Oh, okay. I thought it was backup vocals on Rambling Man as well.
No, it was just the guitars, and I kind of helped Dickie arrange those guitars a little bit on there. And actually, what had happened, they would go in the studio. He invited me down to the studio that night. They were cutting Rambling Man, and that was when Barry Oakley was still alive. That was the last song that Barry Oakley also played on. Yeah. And so Dickie invited me down to the studio, and I went down, and they would go, out and work on it a while, and they'd come back in, and Dickie would come over and ask me what I thought about this or that, and I'd give him my 2 cents, and he did it for a few times, and he finally says, well, hell, why don't you just come on out and play it with me? So, okay, I'll come out and play it with you. So we did Ramblin' Man, and then, then shortly thereafter is when Barry died in a motorcycle wreck also. And that's when they got Lamar Williams. And Dickie and I got together one night for our girlfriends, my girlfriend and his wife at the time, Cindy Blue Sky. They were cooking us some steaks, and Dickie said, bring your guitar over, bring your acoustic over. I got a tune I'm working on. I'm stuck,
Yeah.
So he had the rhythm part and the lead part on the verse, and we kind of kicked it around for a little while, and he finally said, never mind. He went in the kitchen, and I kind of stuck with it, and I came up with a bridge section to that song.
Oh, nice.
And so recording wise, we took it in the studio, and we beat it around, and whole band beat it around until we got a really good arrangement on everything. And so I played the acoustic guitar on that song. Dickie didn't want me to play the lead harmonies with him because we already did Ramblin' Man. He didn't want the critics to think that I was going to be in the band. So he said, I just want you to play the acoustic, you know. So I did that, and it was fun, and we got it done. And of course, I never got any royalties or any recognition for co-writing the song with him. But 40 years later, there it is.
Sure. You worked with Boz Scaggs on his Silk Degrees.
Yeah, right up to that Brothers and Sisiters album came out, I hooked up with Boz.
That's an interesting combination. I always took him as a jazz, soft rock guy, and you being Delta blues, and how'd that fit together?
Well, Dwayne played on his first album. Dwayne Allman played on Boz's first Atlantic album. Played on Loan Me a Dime and that, so. And Boz was in dire straits to get a guitar player. The story goes, he got this guy from somewhere on the West Coast, and everything was working out great in the rehearsal hall. But then when they went on stage for the first time, the guy just wigged up, put all these kinds of sparklers on and everything, and just was like doing a duck walk across the stage. Boz goes, "Oh no, this ain't gonna work." So he was looking for a guitar player, and he flew to Macon, and he heard about me, from the Brothers, and so I flew up to Akron, Ohio, where he was at, and. It was one of those kind of things where if you want to try out playing with my band, we'll bring you up and see what's going on. So I flew up there, didn't have any money in my pocket, landed in the Akron, Ohio airport late at night, and nobody's there but me, and then finally there's a little thing on the intercom. Let's Dudek please report to the so and so counter, and so I went over there. And they said, "Oh yeah, we got a message. You got to go to the Akron Theater, So I had to get in a cab to go there, and I didn't have any money. I said, "I don't know how I'm going to do this." I said, "Let's go." So we went, and we got to the backstage of the Akron Theater, and then Boz's road manager came out and paid the cab, and I went in, and I'm sitting downstairs, and his name was Larry Garrett. And, he says, "Well, you ready to play?" Because Boz was already on stage. He's right in the middle of the show, actually, almost at the end of it. I said, "Yeah, I was born ready to play, So he said, "Well, strap your guitar on. You're playing right now." I said, "Okay." Strapped it on. We went upstairs, and Boz finished his set, and he came off and he said, "Hey, I'm Boz. You're Les. How you doing?" He said, "Okay, we're gonna come on out and this is your audition. we're gonna play I Feel Good and I Hope I Always Will by Muddy Waters." And it's 1-4-5, and it stays on the 1 in the verse, and let's go hit it, So, all right, let's go. So we went out and we burned it up, and then got off stage, and he hired me. He said, "All right, you're hired," So we took a couple of weeks off and went to this funny. Boz booked us into a club in Toledo, Toledo, Ohio, and he called us Juan Menudo and the Iguanas, and basically, it's all undercover, and we were just using the place to rehearse, really. We'd play, at night for the people, but during the day we were rehearsing until we could pick up the tour and go from there.
And that song Jump Street, is that you on slide guitar?
That's me on slide guitar, yeah.
Do you prefer slide over just traditional playing, or
no?
You can bounce back and forth.
It just if it lends itself to it, then I'll go with the slide. But it doesn't. All that I did 4 albums with Steve Miller Band. We did the Joker tour with Steve. It was I was with Boz, and we had James Cotton opening up for us, and then Boz special guest, and then Miller, Miller would bring James Cotton, Boz, and myself up for the end of his set. And from there we went to Miller invited me up to Seattle, and we cut a bunch of tracks that ended up on the Book of Dreams album. One of the songs on there was a song I co-wrote with a guy named James Cook called Sacrifice.
Okay.
And those sessions ended up on the Book of Dreams, Fly Like an Eagle, Living in the 20th Century. And then later I co-wrote another song with a guy named Ron Richard, who was the other guitar player in the Black Rose thing with Cher that we did.
Yeah.
And called Blue Eyes. It was on his Wide River album, Steve Miller Band.
Is there a favorite era that you had between the 60s and the 70s and the 80s that you wouldn't trade for the world, or was it all worth it? Or
I think 1978 was my favorite year as far as playing. I had two record deals on Columbia Records. I had a solo deal, and I just just came out with my third album, Ghost Town Parade.
Yeah.
And then I hooked up with two guys that were playing with Dave Mason, and Jim Krieger, who wrote We Just Disagree for Dave Mason.
Sure.
And Mike Finnegan, who has played with everybody under the sun. You know, I mean, Finnegan's been with Etta James, Crosby, Stills and Nash. I think he's out with Bonnie Raitt right now. He was out with Joe Cocker. I mean, he's been with everybody. So we did an album and a tour together. Actually, the tour was with Kansas in '78. That was a good time.
Wow.
And, the movie Mask with Sam Elliott and Cher and Eric Stoltz and Laura Dern, and I was Bone. I was one of the bikers.
One of the bikers.
And I rode the Peter Fonda bike, you know, the one with the flag on it. You know, the irony of that is Laszlo Kovacs was the cinematographer for Easy Rider, and he was also the cinematographer for Mask. So you know, he was having a little deja vu when I was riding the Fonda bike. You know, it's like,
You had more fun doing movies?
it's like where have I seen this before?
Did you enjoy doing the movie as much as you do playing out and writing music?
Well, that movie was a gas, man. That was
Yeah.
Dennis Berkeley, who just passed away last year, the big guy that played Dozier.
Yeah.
And Sam and I, you know, when it was a wrap, you know, they were saying, okay, we need all the colors from the biker gang, you know, the Turks, you know, the Southern California Turks, and Elliot and Berkeley. And I said, well, hell no, you ain't getting our colors, son. You know, we're taking our colors home with us. You know, try to take our colors from us. You know, so we did that. But yeah, that was a fun thing. I never really aspired to be an actor or anything. It was just a fun thing to do, and I'm glad I did it.